Good evening, everyone. My name is Rita. I'm a QA software tester, ISTQB certified. Give me a minute. Um, Today will be just an overview of what Gherkin syntax is with BDD feature files. Um, because for the next sprint or the next, as in when the internship begins, the tutor is going to dive more into this. But I'm just going to talk around it because I will be giving you guys a tax on this. So moving forward, next slide quickly, please. Um, okay, so it says what is BDD? So BDD is behavior-driven development. Please note this down. I always expect you to come in with a pen and paper. And the reason for that is because you could note one or two things down that will help you during the course of interview phase. And it helps to assimilate as well. When you note things down, it helps you to absorb things quicker. And so BDD is a software development methodology that focuses on writing tests in a way that both technical and non-technical stakeholders can understand it. I believe we all know what stakeholders are. I think Uzo must have touched on that, so I'm not going to go into that. And you are also a stakeholder, so know that. So a software development approach that encourages collaboration between developers, testers, and business stakeholders. Another point is it focuses on defining application behavior in plain language that all parties understand. It helps to create clear, testable requirements. As we go deeper, we understand what we meant by it helps everyone, both non-technical, to understand whatever testers have designed, which is our test case. Moving on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So which brings us to this Gherkin syntax. I don't know if you guys remember in the last class, I quickly wanted to touch on it, but it was good that we didn't go into it. So we'll have more clearer understanding on what Gherkin syntax is. So Gherkin syntax is a structured language used to write test scenarios in behavior-driven development. Gherkin syntax is a human readable language used to write test scenario in behavior-driven development. I'll take that again. So what I meant by this is Gherkin is a readable language used to write test scenarios in BDD, which is behavior-driven development. So it follows a structured given when then format to describe software behavior to plain English, making it easy for technical and non-technical stakeholders to understand. Now, I'm bringing it back again so that you don't mix it up. It's as easy as it is. Don't stress about it. Just follow me and you process it later and get a clearer understanding of what I'm trying to say. So it is designed to be human readable and follows a given when then format to describe software behavior in plain English. We'll move quickly to the next slide. So Gherkin syntax basics. Gherkin scenarios is as follows, which is we have the feature. So if you notice under the feature, we have feature name. And if you notice in most of the test cases we've been writing, when we say feature name, what do you think feature name is? Somebody can unmute or put it on the chat for me, please. So under feature, we have as a user, then I want to. Then the third point is so that. So as a user, I want to take an action. then what would be the benefit? Can somebody tell me, like as I asked earlier, what should be in that place where we have feature? Example of what? E.g., what do you think should be where we have that bracket, feature name? Because in the next slide, you'll be seeing what that is. But I need somebody to tell me. I want somebody. Opeyemi, who else is a tester there? What? Feel free. You can make mistake. Trust me. After this, you remember it. Let me check the chat. I'm still waiting. Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. Isn't
login functionality? Well done. Thank you, Larry. Sorry.
Isn't that the that's what actually, in plain term, what your software is going to be doing?
Yes. Don't overthink it. Long and short, login functionality. It can be any other thing. So it's the feature, that particular feature you are working on. What are you working on? I'm working on registration page. I'm working on a header. I'm working on a logo. Yeah. So that's just what the feature is. That's the feature you are working on. Yeah. Anything you are working on under software development lifecycle is called a feature. That particular thing you are working on, that application that you are working on. Yeah. So then we also now have scenario description. Then we have the given, when, then. And if you remember, I did say given is your precondition, your when is your action, your then is your expected outcome, your results. So I'll quickly use this analogy to help you guys understand it better. Given, when, then. Given as a cook, I have all my ingredients. Given I have all my ingredients, yeah, when I add them together, okay, now let me put it this way. Given I have tomatoes, pepper, onion, when I blend it together and I boil the pepper and I fried the pepper, then it becomes a stew or it becomes a sauce. Yeah? As we move closer, you understand it better. So, given, when, then, is, if you're not speaking, please be muted. Admin, can you mute that person, please? So, given, when, then is as simple as your precondition. What do you want to do? Oh, when I get to London, when I take a train rather, to so place, that is your action. Then I should meet myself in Manchester. Then I should get to the airport, things like that. Yeah. So there's always a precondition. Then there's an action you must take to get a result. It's as simple as that. Don't overthink it. So once you have these 3 steps, you are telling me, okay, I have something and I have to take an action, then I have to get a result. And you are expecting a result. That is why you are taking that action. Your precondition is, oh, I have a mindset that, oh, I want to make a stew and these are my ingredients. So I have to take so action by blending this pepper together, by boiling this pepper together, and then frying this pepper together. Then I will have a stew. That is the results. Yeah. Moving quickly to the next slide. So an example of this is, as you can see, login functionality. Well done to Larry, which is your feature. Then you have your description. As a registered user, I want to log into the system so that I can access my account. Very simple. Anybody that picks this up, that is not a tester, we understand. That is not a technical person, we understand what I intend to do here, what I want to achieve. And then the scenario will then be successful login. That is my scenario. Because my intention is, after taking these steps, after registering, after logging into the system, after successfully creating my account, I should be able to have a successful login. Yeah. And then you now go and say, given I am on the login page, which this is what we have done. Now, can somebody tell me the difference between this? Can you mute somebody? Can you mute that person, please, for the sake of this recording? Okay, thank you. If you can mute everybody, if I'm asking them questions, they might as well just put it on the chat. So, which I was about to ask a question anyway. So can somebody put the answer for me on the chat? The difference between this, what we have here, which says, given I am on the login page, when I enter the valid credential and I click on the login button, then I should be redirected to the dashboard. Different between this and what we did last week with the Excel. If you notice, what we had last week was different from what we have here on our description. So here we have added the given when then. And if you guys were present yesterday at the demo we had, what we had on the board was with 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 syntax, the scenarios. So this is why I'm bringing this in. Your BAs must have started writing their stories by now. I think you are in sprint 0. So your stories will be coming in this format, or your acceptance criteria will be coming in this format. Given I am on the login page, when I enter a valid credential and I click the login button, then I should be redirected to the dashboard. So this is what will come from the BA. Then you as a tester will then take this action and expect a successful login when you've taken this action. That is now your outcome. That is your expected results. Now, when you test it, you will now tell me, oh, was that the actual result when I tested it? Remember, we have expected and actual. Expected is what is expected, the behavior of that application, what you intend, what that application is meant to display, what you intend to achieve after taking these steps, which is your expected result. And then the actual is now you testing it to see if this application under test, yeah, AUT, not website, application under test, if your testing environment is working as expected, is behaving as expected. Please take note of this buzzword I'm using, as simple as it may sound. If when you are using it, you might say it's technical jargons, but we call it buzzwords or terminologies. When you are using it during your interview phase, it will boost your morale. It will make you come out more professional. It will set you apart, understand? Because it will make you, it will give you, it will make you look as if you will come out as somebody that has more experience, if you get what I'm trying to say. So, sorry about that. I'm gonna answer the call. Okay. So next slide quickly, please. Please take down any questions for me. Then we'll treat that after the class. Okay. So yeah, next slide. Keywords in your 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓. Remember we talked about feature. That has to be in your 𝐂𝐿𝐶𝐻. Definitely. You describe the functionality that you are testing. Yeah. And then the scenario. A single test case representing your user behavior. Remember the scenario just now said successful login. That is just what you want to see. You define a specific test case for that feature, what you want to see. And then you have given, setting up the initials of your precondition, yeah, of the test, which is what I've been saying. You have all your ingredients. You want to make a stew. So you have all the pepper, all the tomatoes and everything together. Yeah. And then when, which describes the action. It defines the action performed by you, the user, or by the user. So that's whatever steps you are taking that you want to take to achieve the outcome. So that is what when is. When I click on the radio button, when I click on the menu, when I click on the header, then you then have then, which defines the expected, then I will see this. Then I will be successfully logged in. Then I shall be this. Yeah. Then you have the and. I don't use bots for argument's sake. Bots is there. Yeah. So but is used to add additional steps. Now, if you remember when I was using the cooking analogy, I said, I'm just going to repeat that again. I'm using this to make it easier for us to digest. Yeah. Um, given I have my ingredients and I blend the pepper. When I fry the pepper, then I should get a stew. I'm sorry if it's sounding so lame. I've forgotten some of the analogies I do use. Yeah. So I just feel this might describe it better when you use the cooking. Okay, given I have my jollof rice ingredients and when I put everything together, that's the action. But before the action, maybe you have done one or two things, then you will put and. So the and can come after your giving. The and can also come after your when. In some cases, the and can also come after your then. Yeah. So it's allowed. You can use it after your giving, depending on what feature you are working on, depending on what you have. So given I have my ingredients and I boiled the pepper, when I fry the pepper and I decide to turn the pepper into and I decide to maybe do something else, you know, and I added water to the pepper, then I should have stew. Or and I add fish and meat to the pepper, then I have my stew. And I can also say, then I have my stew and I now boiled rice. You understand? So your and can come after your giving. It can also come after your when, and it can also come after your then. Then you now have the background. I'm not going to go into this too much so as not to confuse you, but it defines that these define steps that are common to all scenarios in a feature. So this is often used mostly in automation, but it can also be used in manual, depending on what you are working on. But as you go on during the course of the class, you will understand what background is. Gekin on his own, BDD on his own is a big topic and it's very interesting. In fact, if you understand BDD, you are halfway done because when you start your automation, it will make it very easy for you. Then you now have scenario outline. This allows data-driven testing using examples. This scenario outline is also used in automation. I've only just added it because they are all together and it works. It's easier to talk about it now that we are talking about Gherkins. And then once you start using Gherkin syntax, it will help you easily once you transit into automation. Next slide, please. So we have the scenario outline, which is data-driven testing. So the purpose of this is used to run the same scenario with multiple set of data. Now on Azure, even on your Excel, you will see something like this. So if you can see the scenario outline there, I said login with multiple users. Now, the reason why we have scenario outline is sometimes, most times you have your happy part for your testing and the negative part. So you have your happy testing, which means when you enter all the login details, it will go through. So what happens when you are testing your negative part? So all these will be in one, it's one case, it's one test rather. So, but then you will now have different outlines, different scenarios under it. Yeah. And so like here I said, given I am on the login page, when I enter that username and password, they are not supposed to be together. Normally you separate it, but as you can see, you have the and there. So you will say when I enter username and I enter password, yeah, and I click on the login, but that and should be when. Now, if you want to say when, because you're already taking an action there, click You are taking an action. But some people will say and. I purposely left that there because some people you will see different formats, but just write it in the way that you feel a user will understand and in a way that it will make more sense to you. Because you are saying, given I am on the login page, you can now say, and I enter username and I enter password. When I click on the login button, then I should see the message. Yeah. And as you can see on this example down, you have the, sorry, I've forgotten what this is called now. The outline. I think there's another name for it. Username, password, message. Yeah. Rather than putting it where you have the username in quote and the password in quote, yeah, you will then put it in this format because in your automation, the moment you put, when I enter a username and you put the username, for instance, RTB there, and I put my password, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, that's hard coding in automation. So, but when you put it this way, this format, where you outline it like this, it makes your code neat, clean, and readable and reusable. And when because in some cases, like if registration, you cannot use the email more than once for registration. So what happens? I know we have, which is, I'm going deep, I don't want to use that. But say, for instance, for manual, yeah, for automation, you can always add a particular code that will generate random email for you by adding your plus int whatever thing. So it will then, the same email, it will be adding +1, maybe you set it up to 90 or 100 or 1000. So for that same email, it will be randomly adding, say for instance, my name, Rita BlueSky at, maybe I put Rita BlueSky at yahoo.com, then it will add, when I'm registering again, it will do Rita BlueSky +1 at, so that way it's not repeating the email, but that's a different thing because that's automation. But in terms of manual, you can easily now come here and change it for a registration feature. Yeah, because if you have it written where you have you have it parameterized, say for instance, you have it like that. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for earlier. If you have it where you have that username, let me use the word quote now because so that you get what I'm saying. If you put your email there, that's you doing hard coding in terms of automation. But even if in manual you choose to do it like that, it will not be ideal. You're better off having it this way in this format, as you can see. Next slide, please. So we have best practices for writing Gherkin. Yeah. Use simple, clear, human language. Keep each scenario focused on one behavior. I'm going to elaborate more on this. Use consistent terminology for better understanding. Avoid UI-specific details, e.g., click the blue button. Now, like where it says avoid UI-specific detail, you could see somebody that have no knowledge of how to design a test case will go, giving I am on the login page on the given I am on the website and I see a login menu on the right hand side of the corner of the website. Can you imagine writing all that out? No, you don't use the UI specification details to write your test cases. No, it's not allowed. So, and then you go and say, given I click on the login button on the right hand corner, then I enter, for instance, Rita at bluesky.com into the first corner text box. You can imagine that. Then I should see a welcome box message pop-up window. No, you don't do that. So you focus on the behavior, not on the user interface elements. You don't focus on the specific details of how you went about it. You can't automate such test case anyway. So you don't do that. And then you want to keep scenarios independent, avoid dependencies between tests. You know, if your scenario has too many steps, it's too complex when you have too many steps as well. Writing long, complicated scenarios is a no-no. Scenarios should be short, focused on one behavior. You understand? Break large scenarios into multiple small scenarios. So you can have up to 4 scenarios for one feature. Like as I said, the login functionality, you could write 3 scenarios from it. You have the happy part, you have the negative parts. I think there's one more, which I can't remember now. Yeah. So let's just keep it at that now. And what is the negative part? Say for instance, you omit, which I think I would touch on that next week. Say for instance, you are writing, you're filling in a form, and you omit the @ of email. It's not going to accept it. So this is you testing to see if you omit the @ will it go through? Will that email be accepted by the application under test? So if it accepts it, then it's a fail, because you are trying to see if you put in wrong details, if you put in wrong format, with the website accept it. So once it accepts it, it's a fail. Don't forget, don't mix it up. For a negative part, for a negative scenario, you are testing to see, maybe it has the application under test is telling you we want 8 characters with what is it called now? With all the signs there. I've forgotten what it's called now. So you want everything, and at the same sorry, and it says eight character. Sorry, did someone say something? So it says 8 characters, and you end up putting 6, and you were successful with that. That is a fail, because it has given you a specific detail of what needs to be there. It told you 8, and then you put in 6, and and it went through. Then it's a fail. So those are the negative testing that we do in terms of login functionality, and it's different types depending on the feature you are working on. So you don't want to be mixing too many steps. I think I've touched on that. Avoid large scenarios. Rather, you put it into multiple scenarios. And that's where the background also come in. You use the background for repetitive steps. You know, it helps you to write steps rather not reusing them when you use background. Yeah, I will touch on that lightly, but that is suitable more for automation, and you will definitely get to understand that, learn about that. So, which was, I also talked about the hard coding parts. So when you don't want to add code your test script for automation, so make your steps generic to reuse them, all across your tests, and then use, which is the background I've talked about, to reduce duplication. Think from a user perspective, not the system. Keep scenarios short, focused on behavior, and avoid redundancy. So, and then you link your gherkin to automation for real benefit. That's one thing, because your gherkin, like as I said earlier, will help you when you start writing your automation. That's the essence of all this. Next slide, please. So, which I don't want to repeat what I've just said. I think it's common mistakes to avoid writing overly complex or long scenarios, mixing technical details, e.g., click the button with ID button 1, 2, 3, just like what I've mentioned earlier. So using 𝐂𝐐𝐍𝐄𝐄 as just another scripting language, no, it's not acceptable. And writing too many steps. Your steps should be concise. When you are using the given when then, it makes your test very, very readable, easy to understand. Anybody can pick it up and be able to interpret what you've written there. So I just quickly touch on the difference between BDD and 𝐂𝐶𝐍𝐄𝐄𝐓. Yeah, so that we don't get up, because I know some of you might be getting confused. So BDD is a development methodology that focuses on defining your software behavior before implementation, while the 𝐂𝐶𝐍𝐄𝐄𝐓 is just used to write your test cases in BDD. Yeah. So next slide, please. I think that should be the last one. Yeah, thank you. We just use the next 10 minutes to answer any question, please.
Sorry to break in, Rita. Can I
I don't
see
know.
the last
Hold
slide?
on.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry to just break in. Can I see the last slide? I was trying to jot something I didn't get.
okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Damilola. The one before this, I think. So from what we've touched on tonight, I've tried not to go too much into it so that we don't get confused. But what I want is for us to be able to transfer what we did earlier with the Excel sheets into BDD. And that in itself is just adding the given when then to the steps. And already, if you have your user stories or your acceptance criteria from your what is it called, from your business analyst, then it's fine. All you have to do is just write your expected results and your actual results. I guess we are still using Excel, but if not, please create a task by using BDD. So where you have your description, you use BDD format. And then so basically what you are just doing is where it says before we had a user or there's no and or as a user or a user, just add your when in the first step, and then wherever you think and needs to be, put your and wherever you think your action is, maybe there's something saying when I click on something, just add when there. And then your last bit will definitely be your then, which is your outcome. Yeah. Is that clear? So I should see that tax being sent in before the next class so that we'll go through it together. So I might be asking you guys to share your screen so that we know we have a deep understanding of what we've done so far, because this step will help us to easily get, by the time the real class starts, so it will be very much easier once we have a proper understanding of what we've done so far. Thank you. Any question? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it, please.
Please, I don't want it to sound as if I'm being too fast, or trying to. You made mention of automation test using the description you made, where you wrote multiple usernames, where you talked about multiple usernames when you
What, the scenario outline?
yes, scenario outline. Now, it is commonsensical that the sentences there, when you want to follow them, you do it manually. Then for the automation, how would you represent those scenarios now? How would you bring it back to maybe, let's say, a sort of a code to run them so that it can apply them? How do we go?
Even
I
if
don't.
I try to explain it now, you're not gonna get it. But you see, the same way it was parameterized with those
Okay.
line. Let me put it
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, we call it parameterization. That is how you will also do it when it comes to your what is it called? Your automation. Now there's a code. Once you start, you see those formats exactly the same way it is. But other
Yeah.
than that, there's a code you will now put in that will now start reading it for you, running it for you, because you have
Okay.
applied the code to it. So
All
the
right.
code needs to be implemented for the action to take place. But
Exactly.
you'll be surprised how it will work, because you will wonder how did they know that, but you are using code to write it. And the code is English anyway, so don't be scared like thinking when you hear code, you'll be thinking it's going to be in one Chinese language. No, it's English, very easy. So
All
you
right.
can be one step ahead by just doing a bit of what is it called now? Sorry, my head. I'm so tired. Self-development. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just do a bit of research.
All right, I'll do that. But the another thing, the second thing is, did you give an assignment to do before? Did you just give us an
Yeah, so
instruction?
I gave a task. If you remember all the previous tasks we had, we were not applying the Gherkin syntax, which is the given when then, to the descriptions that we had there. So I don't know what you guys have done lately in this sprint zero. So if the BAs have given you your acceptance criteria, your PBIs, they will definitely be coming in that format in Gherkin syntax. So, but if not, on the Excel, please create one using, write a test case using Gherkin syntax. So basically what you're just doing is where we have the description of what you are testing. Yeah. If you notice, we don't have given when then at the beginning. So what I just said now, like the first step, just put given then. Then when you start reading it on your own, it will make sense where you should add and where you should add when, and where you should add then. Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and
Good.
clear. So if
Thank
we
you.
use any feature, even so, if they have not given us anything, the BAs have not responded, we should use any feature of our choice.
Yes. Say, can you see my board? Can you see my screen? Am I sharing?
No, you're not.
Oh, you're not.
Okay. Let me quickly go back. Okay. So this is our description, our test steps. So basically what I want to see is, I didn't want to show you guys because I've shown, there's already an example on the slide, but I just have to, that's why I didn't create any on my Excel today. But just to make it easy, I understand some of us are very slow. You won't believe it. I was one of those people that didn't catch it on time, but trust me, once you catch it, you will wonder, why didn't I catch it since? But that's just it. Some people will grab it quicker than, so we learn at a different pace. So what I'm trying to say was, say for instance, your first step will be, given I open a browser, which they should be. I'm not the one sharing. I would have shared the slide quickly. But then here you will now say, and I enter the URL or I enter the email. So definitely this click is an action. When I click on the login button, yeah, then after this, click on the sign in. When I click on the sign in menu, or when I click on the sign in button, then there should be a then here that will tell you what you are expecting. Then you will now put it here and say, yeah, that is successful. Let me see if I can share. So what I was trying to say is, okay, should be another one. Yeah. So look at this, for instance, given I am on the login page, when I enter a valid credentials and I click the login button, then I should be redirected to the dashboard. That's it. Is it clear now?
Yes. Yeah, I want to ask something. The and there is not
Yes.
necessarily, sometimes it might not come, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a very short feature, I mean, some people write test cases in a very declarative way, while
Okay.
some in very imperative. Yeah. So you can choose to write a high.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack, I'll stop sharing.
Hi, Richard. Good evening. What's the
Good
difference
evening.
between behavior-driven development and test-driven development? I'm not quite sure if you covered test-driven development, but what's the
I
difference?
didn't, and I don't want to cover that because yes, that's
Okay,
a whole
okay.
topic on its own. But
But you
yeah,
will cover it at some point, right?
yeah. Oh
Okay,
yes,
okay.
we'll
Okay, cool, cool,
touch on
cool.
it. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. No worries. Thank you.
you're welcome. It's good you are one step ahead, and you can do your research on that as well, so that you'll have questions to ask during the course of the teaching on that topic.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
That's fine. You're welcome. Any other question? Our time is far spent. If not, I'll hand over to Laomi. Any questions, QA? So let me also touch on yesterday's demo. Do you any QA? Do you understand what we did yesterday? Do you understand the demo we had yesterday for the QAs? If you have any question regarding that. So during the internship, you'll be taught on how to estimate as well. I think Laomi said she touched on that when she did the Scrum, when she took the Scrum Masters, I think, when she something like that. So these are all part of the things you'll be doing in the organization once you get hired. And it's as simple as it is. Exactly everything that was done yesterday is just what you do. You can see it's very easy, and that's what you get paid for. Good money. So just if you have the videos, go through it again and just look at it and see if there's anything that is not clear, and bring your question. Especially this is directed to the QAs, any QA question. And for other people, if you have any question, reach out to either Uzo or Laomi for Scrum Master. Okay.
I have a question. Quick one, please.
Yeah. Stanley, were you the one asking question earlier as well?
Yes, I am.
I hope you are not the only QA in the class. Okay, there's Anthony. Okay. All right, go for it quickly.
Yesterday, the QA, when he was
Yes.
making an estimation about
When we were doing what? Sorry?
I think valuation or estimation of
It's
time
called
for the
estimation.
estimation. Okay, right, estimation.
Oh,
He
for the
chose
time is capacity.
okay. Come again. I want
It's
to get
very
it.
easy. Don't worry. They are English, isn't it?
Okay. Now, I mean to say where he was trying to choose 5/3. He
Yes,
said
that's called estimation.
estimation.
Fibonacci and
Okay.
Azure. So what happens is, say for instance, if you remember the features we were working on, I think development and application or something. Yeah. So what happened is you will look at it, especially if you are a newbie. I think Laomi explained when she did the voiceover. Say, for instance, remember we were two QAs there. And let's say I'm a new QA. I don't have any previous experience of how to do this. And I can choose to say, oh, it will take me 5. My effort will be 5. Yeah, that's another topic which we will touch on it, what Fibonacci is and how to estimate. You'll be taught. But basically what that is in a nutshell is just your efforts, how long it will take you to test that particular feature. So it can take an experienced QA 3 Why it can take me, that is a new QA, 5. And then we might just come to an agreement. So sometimes you add the 3 plus 8 and make it 4. I think there's a way you can meet at some point, break it down. Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Interesting. You're welcome. Osareme.
Hi everyone.
Hiya.
Mine's not really related to what you had just taught, but I really
Okay.
love the way you actually did it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I was literally in and out because I had a one-on-one meeting, the career development. Yeah. So is there any way someone can actually please post the attendance? Because I asked for it before I left. And I'm back again. I'm still asking for it. No one has posted it yet.
Noted. Dami will respond to that. I think it's on the chat as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okoyemi, quickly, please. We have 4 more minutes to go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rita. Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
mine is just about test cases, and I'm wondering, are test cases also written in other languages? Thinking of there is, this Gherkin syntax that you've talked about. So that's the way to do it, standard. Are there other standard procedures to do it? And then, so I'm thinking people that live in Germany, do they also always write in English, or, it's it can be adapted to other languages? Thank you.
I'm not sure, because depending on the organization you're working with, I don't think, I don't know if it has to be translated into a German language, but it would definitely be the same format. Because I think I've seen some job interviews, they will say you need to have experience you need to be fluent in so language. But the process of writing it, maybe because I'm in the UK, this is what I know. But if in any form, it now has to be written in a German language, it will still be in the same format. So it's like writing one in English and writing one in a German language or in a Spanish language. So I like to think that's what the case would be, because say, for instance, somebody in Germany can pick up a job in US, and somebody in US or even UK can pick up a job in Germany. So I think it's the same process. It should be the same format. The only difference might not be you translating it into a German language, because maybe your users or the users have to read it. So it has to be written in what they can read, but it will be the same format. So for instance, the given has to be written in a German language, if that be the case. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.